and welcome to this episode of The Dig. I'm your host, Jamie, and I am here today to talk to you about liberos and the role of the libero and different passing things. So if you're interested in playing back row, or if you are a libero, stay tuned and we will get into that in just a minute. Before we get started, I want to tell you that our sponsor today is My Little Athlete. If you are looking for volleyball apparel or gifts, go to mylittleathlete.biz and check out what we have to offer. But let's get into liberos. The role of the libero. To start with, the libero is the person in the different colored jersey. So if you're completely new to volleyball, you might be surprised when some short little girl goes running in the game and is wearing a completely different colored jersey. There's a reason for the different colored jersey. That is because the libero has their own set of rules that they have to follow. They have their own section in the rule book with all sorts of different rules. And if you're the libero, then you have to put on that jersey so the ref knows to follow a certain set of rules for you. So the first thing is that you don't have to sub in and out of the game. So normally, in order to enter or exit the game, you have to do a formal substitution, and you can only go in for one player per set, or one spot in the rotation per set. It's a little bit complicated, and we're not going to get into that. Basically, what you need to know about being a libero or wearing the libero jersey is that gives you free access to sub for anybody who is playing in the back row. And you can do it at any dead ball. So you can go in and out of the game pretty freely on any dead ball. There are definitely other specific rules for liberos. You might think that liberos can't hit the ball over the net. That's a little bit of a misconception because liberos can hit the ball over the net, but the ball cannot be entirely above the net when they hit it. So if you are a libero and you really don't jump very high, or you're really short, and when you jump, you cannot reach above the net, then technically, legally, you'd be allowed to jump and attack because the ball or your hand are not above the height of the net. So technically, that's legal. Now, if you're accustomed to playing front row, or you know that when you jump, you can get above the net, when you go to attack a ball, if you're the libero and it's above the net, that is illegal. Libero is not allowed to contact the ball when it is entirely above the net. It doesn't matter if the ball is in the front row or the back row. That's just the rules. Other rules, the libero is not allowed to, now follow this, not allowed to set the ball in front of the 10-foot line if the person that they set to gets up and hits the ball above the height of the net. So basically it means that a libero cannot be standing in front of the 10-foot line and use their hands to set the ball to one of the front row hitters to hit it over. So if a libero is going to be in front of the 10-foot line, they need to be passing the ball to the hitters. If you are in the back row as a libero, you can use your hands to set anybody on the court. And a lot of teams use the libero as the backup setter. If the setter plays the ball the first time, like the setter digs the ball, then the libero is the one who comes in and sets it. That's actually really common. Some teams play their libero in the left back because the ball goes to the left back most of the time. But some teams play them in the middle back. Most of the time, the libero is in for a middle, but that's not always the case. So they can play anywhere that the coach wants them to in the back row. They just need to make sure that they're not using their hands to set the ball in front if they are standing in front of the 10-foot line. That's why sometimes you'll see really good liberos stand on one foot to set the ball, because if their other foot was down, it would be touching the 10-foot line. So they'll lift up their foot while they set. That's a really good libero with really excellent court sense that knows how to do that. Other rules regarding the libero, that's pretty much it. Their jersey, like I said, it has to be a contrasting color, and the NFHS rules, the high school rules, either the libero or the team has to have an entirely solid colored jersey, which, isn't really going to matter to you so much unless you're a coach and you're trying to plan your jerseys for next season. Let's move on to the role of the libero. It came in, it went internationally first. They tried it out, and then it has worked its way down, and now it's pretty standard to have a libero at every single level. The libero is a passing and defensive specialist, you wouldn't want your best hitter on the team to play libero, because you want your best hitter to be able to go into the front row and play in the front row. And since the libero has to stay in the back row, typically the libero is somebody who's really excellent at passing and defense. And maybe they're a third outside or somebody who can play front row, but really wouldn't be getting the playing time that you want. So there's somebody who can pass exceptionally well and then dig well. In America, you can use your libero to serve for one person during a set. I know internationally the libero can't serve, and so a lot of people are kind of surprised when they see a libero go back to serve. But the libero can serve for one person in the USA. They can only serve for one person per set, and a lot of times it's really common to have your libero serve for, say, a middle, and then the next set serve for the other middle. So the middles, especially at a younger age, the middles are still all getting an opportunity to serve, but the libero is going to serve for one or the other one. Your libero is typically responsible for your serve receive, making sure that everybody is in rotation, making sure that everyone, all the passers are where they need to be, and then calling out things like seams. So if you're unsure what a seam is, the seam is the space between you and the other passers. So a court, you might be standing right in the middle of the court and you have a passer on your left and your right. The seam is the area between the two of you, or the seam is between you and the sideline. It's up to you and your coach and the players on your team to figure out and work out who takes the ball that's in the seam. So if the ball is served between you, you have to know who is going to play it. Typically, the libero is going to take seams when they can, if they're an exceptional passer. Other things that the libero is responsible for on defense, they are usually the one who is deciding what type of defense you're going to play if you have a couple different types. And they're the ones who are responsible for talking with the coach about what's going on the floor during the game. So if you're getting beat, and there's just something that's not right, like the ball keeps landing to your right or somebody's right, and the libero's responsibility is to go over to the coach and say, okay, this is what's happening. Like the block isn't closing, or maybe they're just beating me over here. Can we shift our defense and make the adjustments and stuff? So that's the role of the libero. They're the ones who are calling the shots. They're the captain of the serve receive. They're the captain of the defense. And usually your best passers are going to be playing libero. All right, before we wrap up, I got some specific questions from people regarding the libero position and serve receive. So really quickly, let's just go through a few of these questions and I'll answer them for you. The first one is, how do you read a float serve? Before I talk about float serve, I'll tell you that a top spin serve is the easier ball to pass. It tends to travel in a straight line. Okay, so then the float serve is the ball that moves all over the place and it's really hard to predict where it's going. So if you're having troubles with a float serve, there's a few things to keep in mind. You're never going to know exactly where the ball goes because it floats. You might know if a player tends to serve a floater that's hard and flat and they may miss long, and you might know that a server, their float serve tends to die in front of you. You might have some tendencies that you can learn from the server, but generally speaking, float serves are floaters because they float around in the air and it's really hard to predict where they're going to land. So if you're going to pass the float serve, there's a few key elements. First of all, you want your platform to be as still as possible, and you really want to try to keep it nice and still, put it out there early and keep it behind and under the ball, and then just hold it still. Another really key thing to a float serve is that you don't plant your feet. So when you're receiving a really hard dig or a really hard topspin serve, your feet are going to be, you're still on the balls of your toes and stuff, but you're dug in a little bit more, ready to absorb some shock. Where a float serve, you absolutely cannot commit with your feet because the float serve will change at the last second. And so you don't want to be doing like fast feet, but you also don't want to be like committed on like to the pass. You want to stay loose with your legs, ready to move up until the last second. And then you want to do your absolute best to track the ball into your forearms. So get your platform out in front of you, nice and still, and try to get that ball basically to land on your forearms. Think of it as though you're, like, this is a kind of a fun analogy. Think of it as though you're playing catch the egg, the egg toss game with a friend. Think of that when you're receiving your serve. So instead of trying to attack the serve when it comes at you, you're really trying to catch it with your forearms. And then, of course, you need the right angle to send it to the target, but you're not trying to attack the ball. The ball is your friend. You're trying to, catch it like an egg. You're kind of absorbing it, and you want that ball to come into your arms. And if you're attacking a float serve, you're probably going to have a hard time controlling it. So float serves, make sure you don't commit with your feet. Make sure that your forearms aren't swinging around and being aggressive, but that they're nice and still, and you're tracking the ball into your arms right up until you make contact, because the ball is going to continue to move. The next thing, how do you become an aggressive libero and a loud libero if you're naturally quiet? And this actually pertains to every position. But liberos do tend to be expected to be a little bit louder and a little bit more decisive on the court. They're kind of calling some shots, so that they do have to be vocal. I would suggest, if it's completely foreign to you, if you're really uncomfortable being loud or doing a lot of talking on the team, I would suggest you start with like an inner monologue where you're almost just talking to yourself and you're really not talking for your team, and start that in practice with everything that you do. So, you're just calling out this, you're saying setter when you're looking at the setter, and then when they set the outside, you say out loud outside. You say to yourself, watch angle. You say to yourself, who's got the seams and things like that. And you really just start talking to yourself. So you don't have to be loud, and you don't have to be talking for other people. You just have a consistent monologue going on and coming out your own mouth, going over everything until you're really comfortable with just the consistent talking. Then as you get more and more comfortable with that, then you can get a little bit louder, and then also start talking a little bit for other people. So instead of telling yourself that, the outside hitter, you might say to somebody as you move, like as you're playing, watch line, or instead of telling yourself tip, you're being a little bit louder and you're saying watch tip, so that the other people on your team are starting to get the advantage that you have. Being a libero, you've probably learned to read really well, and you probably know what's happening before anyone else on the team does defensively. And so if you start talking more, even if it's just to yourself, you're giving all the other people on your team a cue as to what's going to happen, and you're helping them out a lot. And then depending on your coach, they may be okay with you just talking, just like not yelling or anything, and just having kind of a quiet communication going on. And then some coaches are going to want you to be the loudest person on the team. And so from your own, where you start, you'll have to work through that and just get a little bit louder all the time until your coach is satisfied and you're satisfied. And that's talking is super important, and it will make you a better player to talk all the time, even if it's just to yourself. So give it a try, and I encourage you to become a vocal leader on your team, even if it's not a loud vocal leader, even if it's just, giving people a little bit of a heads up of what to expect. One more thing about the talking, because it's really important. Between plays is a really good opportunity for you to talk without being loud at all. You can just literally, when the other team goes back to serve, maybe they're going and getting the ball, walk over to another passer and say to them quietly, okay, I've got your seam. Or, it's going to be a top spin. Just, so that you're talking about something, and you can do it right up next to them where you barely have to even whisper, so you don't have to be super loud for that. It's just a matter of actually doing it. And instead of having the internal dialogue, you make it external. So that's it on the talking for now. 2 more questions, and then I'm going to wrap up. The first one is how to be better at passing. Basically, how are you going to beat out another libero? So there's really, well, there's only one libero that can be in a game at a time. So you might have two liberos on your team and you're kind of alternating for the spot, but really, you know, it comes down to only one person can be playing. So the coach is going to have to decide who that is. Typically, it's going to have to do with your passing numbers, your statistics. Are you taking care of the ball or not? Serve receive is super important. The better passer, whoever can pass serves better, is going to have an advantage. If you're really good at defense, that's another advantage. When it comes to picking a libero, you know, who can play the position better? It's no different than any other position. Statistically, who is better? Mentally, there is something to be said for someone who can find ways to make their teammates play better. So that's where statistics kind of start to get pushed to the side. If you're pretty much the same player, then that's not going to matter as much. And it comes down to who can make their teammates better, who can make them look better, who makes the team as a whole play better. And it's not always just somebody who's really, you know, nice and cheerful. Sometimes it's somebody who is, you know, just works really hard, or maybe they're really loud and they get everyone fired up, or there's just various reasons why people click and play well together, and that you can build that chemistry. So, you know, there's really only a couple things there. It all comes down to, you know, you take care of the physical stuff, and then like try and make yourself, or try to help the people on your team become better. Last thing, drills for liberos. First thing, if you're a libero, you need to be able to pass the ball to yourself nonstop for like days. You need to get to a point where passing to yourself isn't something you need any space for. You don't have to take any steps. You can just stand there and pass by yourself for hours, and you have that level of control. Then you can pass against a wall. You could put tape on a wall and put it maybe like 10 feet in the air and 5 feet in the air, and you can alternate between the two, pass low, pass high, working on adjusting your platform. It's difficult to do a lot of passing things. If you have a partner, you can do a lot more. You can pass to yourself and turn sideways and pass to your partner, or turn backwards and pass to your partner. You can learn to pass with one hand, which, you know, a lot of coaches frown on the one hand use, but if you have nothing better to do, go ahead and learn how to play the ball with one hand, because you never know when one hand's going to really save you. If you can get anyone to hit at you where you're just digging and digging and digging, that's going to help you as a libero. Throwing a tennis ball at the wall, like with each hand independently and stuff. There's a lot of like kind of weird things you can do for reactions. If you have an exercise ball of some kind, you can have someone bounce a volleyball off that exercise ball so it hits it at different angles and ricochets, and you can work on your reaction to the ball by going and playing the volleyball after it ricochets off something. So those are just a few little ideas for drills for liberos. Libero should work on setting as well, because a lot of times the libero is the secondary setter on a team. So that's it for liberos. I know this one was a little bit longer, but I hope you got something out of it, and I look forward to talking to you again soon. Bye!